Thanks.
Okay, there we go, and we are live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to TPC Simple Sunday Call. It's so wonderful to have everyone here this evening. Hope you had a wonderful weekend so far. And of course, this is our beginning of our new week almost, and there's wonderful things awaiting. So, something that we inevitably have to deal with is stress. And whether it's on a conscious or a subconscious level, it's good for us to have measures in place so that we know we can deal with the amount of stress that we have to face on a daily basis. So I'm a spiritual counselor, and I want to take this time to talk to you about my list of stress management techniques that I've been teaching for many, many years. We all face a certain level of continuous stress, but during some periods of time, we suffer excessive stress. And by practicing these techniques, whether it's on a daily basis or even a few times a day, we can make sure that we can come out in one piece on the other side of whatever trial or tribulation we are facing. Now, if after this session you want to, send some notes or make some comments, or during this session, please do so in the comment section so that we can converse on the topic and see which one of these measures work the best for you. So first of all, many of these techniques you might have heard of before. Of course, we know that exercise is a wonderful technique that not only promotes your overall fitness, but it helps you to manage emotional stress and tension as well. And what's so sometimes I think interesting but also dangerous is that we don't realize that when we have stress, it impacts us on a mental level, on an emotional level as well, not just in our physical capacity. So when you exercise, wonderfully so, you're aware of the physical impact that it has on your body, because you can see the physical changes, right? After a few weeks, normally it takes about 12 to 16 weeks. If you're really persistent and you really keep to that regimen, you can see the physical changes. But the most important impact that we should realize here today, it has an impact on our emotional, our psychological aspects of our lives as well. It takes the edge off, as they say. So to exercise is wonderful, but the key to using this as a de-stress method is to exercise regularly, because it helps to increase the production of the brain's feel-good neurotransmitters called endorphins. And we've heard of this before, right? So this is one. But look at your schedule, look at your regimen, and really see, are you exercising regularly? And this doesn't have to be an hour or 2 hours a day like athletes do. It can be even 8 or 10 minutes a day. There's wonderful programs out there. You have lots of programs. There's Taibo, there's Zumba. If you get that boost once a day, it really, really helps you just to focus as well. So that's the first one. Number one is our exercise. And that's a normal one. We all know about exercise, but it's good just to remind ourselves about the basics, right? Because, I've worked with so many people, and I've done so many events in my life, and I've really done big events and small events, and I always say it always gets back to the basics. So that's also where it comes to your relaxation techniques. Get back to the basics. Are you exercising? If you're doing knit one, slip one, if you can't reach it some days, make sure. If you can't exercise for an hour for that day, make sure to get your 8 minutes in. Go online and look for a training session that's 8 minutes or more, or 8 minutes or less, that fits into your schedule before breakfast quickly, but get those endorphins in, because those neurotransmitters are ready and waiting. Now, relaxation techniques, common relaxation techniques include meditation, for instance, mindfulness, focusing on the present, progressive muscle relaxation, even Tai Chi, that's a form of martial arts. I encourage you to do the following if you're a believer, because there's been a lot of cloud surrounding meditation for many years. People thought that meditation is some sort of religious connotation. It can be. You can do it. Some religions like Buddhism, they meditate, but in a different manner. And then there's lots of other religions that we can discuss, but that's not our topic today. But if you want to meditate is really just getting into a space where you are in a total state of relaxation, where you can focus and focus clearly. And I saw this one speaker many years ago that said, that the Bible also said we should meditate on the scriptures. So if you are fearful, or maybe you're not sure about the term meditation, think about meditating, like the Bible says, on the scriptures. Take those scriptures that you love. Those ones that really, really speak to you, that really hit home, and meditate on those scriptures, because those scriptures means something to you personally for a reason. And you can capitalize on that in a way that it will feed your spiritual mind and heart and soul as well. So when I meditate, I like to focus on the scriptures. I like to focus on the prayers that I have, on my connection with the Spirit, with God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And I like to focus where I am at that moment to make that connection. And then I prayerfully meditate to where I want to be next, what I want to do next, what passage I want to make a fulfillment into my life next. So that's a second one. Meditating is very good. And we're going to go a little bit more into meditation as we go down our list. I'm going to explain to you a little bit more in depth about meditation, but relaxation techniques overall include meditation, mindfulness, and focusing, on the present. And progressive muscle relaxation is also going to be on our list. So I want to talk also about number 3, which is biofeedback. Biofeedback is a technique, I'm not sure if you heard of it before, where you use your mind to control your skin temperature, your muscle tension, your heart rate, or your blood pressure. Now, that sounds out of this world, right? Is it possible to control your skin temperature? Is it possible to control the tension that you have in your muscles, your heart rate, or your blood pressure? Well, there's a lot of people that have proven that it is actually possible that they can do this. And, it's an interesting one for sure. I used to practice this in my own way a few years ago. If I had pain after a long workout or a training session, and let's say the pain was between my shoulder blades. Let's say we did jiu-jitsu and the pain was, in a place that was hard to reach for me personally to massage or to treat. I would move that pain from those muscles. I would focus that pain, for instance, was in my pinky toe. And I would move that pain to my pinky toe. Imagine how the pain slowly moves from my shoulder blades, because remember, our mind is so vast, our mind is so complicated and so amazing. God built us this way that we have these capabilities to do these things. We have these abilities. So I would move that, for instance, to my pinky toe. And then I would massage my pinky toe, and I'd imagine, I'd focus that pain is gone. And biofeedback made it possible for that pain. Well, if it wasn't completely gone, it would, of course, be better. It would feel better. It would be on a lighter level. So getting back to meditation, which I find very, very interesting. And biofeedback, you can do research on that, by the way. It just takes practice. But I want to focus a little bit on meditation. I want to talk a little bit on meditation more. It's one of my favorite techniques for anxiety and stress management. And when it's practiced, remember what I said about exercise. It's not something that you should just do net one, slip one. Do a little bit of exercise every single day to get those neurotransmitters to release those endorphins. Meditation, when practiced consistently over time, can actually change the functionality of your brain. That's correct. It can change the functionality of your brain. Now, is this a far stretch? Not really. I worked with children that had mental problems. I've worked with children that had learning disabilities. And what I would do is I would sit with them and do little exercises with their hands. We would sit and we would do little exercises with their hands, changing the fingers. There's a lot of them. A lot of those exercises, you can Google it on YouTube as well and on the internet. And we would make new neural pathways in their brain, right? Simple as that. So meditation, go and read up about it, is really a vehicle, because meditation is shown to thicken the prefrontal cortex. And this brain center manages your higher order brain function, like increased awareness, like concentration, like decision making. Changes in the brain show with meditation higher order functions. And I'm going to explain what a higher order function and a lower order function is just now. They become stronger. So the higher order function of your brain becomes stronger, and the lower order brain activities decrease. So what are higher order functions? That includes cognition and behavior. So cognition is your language, it's your speech. Remember, we touched upon the increased awareness that you experience, the concentration, the decision making. The lower order functions are classified as basic functions, like things that we're not only even aware of, right? Like the fight or flight, freeze and flop action that we have with our adrenal glands, the breathing, the blinking, the heart beating. I don't know how many times I've blinked since we started today. The flinching, for instance, digestion, things that you're not aware of. So when you meditate, you're thickening your prefrontal cortex, your higher order functions increase, so you're more aware. It's easier for you to make decisions. It's easier for you to concentrate on a task, and your lower order functions kind of take the back seat. They take a step back. They decrease. So progressive muscle relaxation is the fifth one. Progressive muscle relaxation. And it involves relaxing all the muscles in your body, for instance, group by group. To practice, you can start with a few deep breaths, and there's so many different types of breathing, right, that you can practice. I mean, there's loads of studies out there that you can really practice breathing with. Progressive muscle relaxation, let me use an example. I like to use myself as an example because it's good to make it relatable to you. When I was pregnant with my second child, my son, I had a very stressful experience. So I started practicing muscle relaxation. How did I do it? I chose a very, very quiet room, quiet space, and I made sure no one would interrupt me during the session, because when you practice progressive muscle relaxation, you really have to focus, not with your conscious mind, right? You have to focus consciously. Music would also help, of course. I'm relaxing my neck, and then you breathe, and then you move kind of down your body until you are in this relaxed state where you are just breathing, just aware of your surroundings, and you're not focused about all the other external things, that's working in on you, the people that might be working in on you, or situations that might be upsetting. It's just you in that moment, and you're breathing. And breathing is such a wonderful gift that God has given us. I mean, that's how He brought us to life, right? He breathed life into us. So breathing is very important in our spiritual growth as well, and it reduces stress. If you feel overwhelmed, or if you feel like you want to react instead of responding, breathe. We've all heard it before. People would say count to 10, and that involves breathing, right? You can't just hold your breath and count to 10 or count to 20. Maybe you're really mad, you want to count to 60. But breathing is such a wonderful measure and tool that God has given us. So that's a part of relieving stress. And then, of course, aromatherapy. And this is really just based on the use of aromatic materials, essential oils, other aroma compounds, which with claims for improving your psychological well-being. Because we are human, we live in a physical body, so it's body, soul, and spirit, right? But your physical body has these senses, right? We have these 5 senses. And then I can't say the word, but we have a sense number 6. I can't say a 60H. I don't know, for some reason it sounds very funny when I say that. So aromatherapy also helps with that. That's why spas use aromatherapy, because when you go to the spa, you're not only going there to have physical body treated, they have made that connection through their studies so they know it's also a mental break, right? How great have you felt when you've been to the spa? You feel like you can take on the world again. You feel like you are on top of that mountain again. And I love aromatherapy. I think it's a very interesting field to study, to see how our senses connect our physical with our psychological, which bleeds through to our other states, our emotional and our mental states as well. We're living on a planet that God gave us with so many wonderful substances derived from plant life, not chemicals, but plant life, that I think we should use it to our benefit. I like lavender. I don't know which ones you use. Feel free to drop it in the comments if you've used it before, because lavender is calming, that and chamomile. I also like to use eucalyptus. I like to use tree oil, and go and read up about it and learn more. Lots of these bath salts that we buy, that we use at home, that's a part of aromatherapy, and there's nothing wrong with taking a lovely uh, bath and making bath salts part of your regimen for relaxation. Then I want to discuss martial arts. Martial arts is also a very good vehicle, a very good handle for you to use for relaxation. Now that sounds odd, right? Because martial arts is about fighting, right? About averting any conflict. But really, it isn't. Not always. Martial arts is more about pursuing peace, and not in a strange way, but pursuing peace in a way that you can get to a place where you know yourself so well that you know how to establish where you are in a situation so that you can, get free if there's something that is an impending danger, something that poses a threat. Other forms of physical movement, such as yoga and that, there's people that practice that are believers, that are not Buddhists, that and I don't speak against any other religions. You make your choices. I always say the choices you make is the life that you live. It's your choice. God gave us the ability to reason. But there are people that are practicing yoga for health benefits. It's kind of like going like to a physical therapist. Lots of people don't have access to physical therapists. They might live in regions where they don't have access to that, and then they do other exercises online, or they do yoga and things. But for me, martial arts has had a very positive effect for me personally. It's changed the trajectory of my life, the course of my life. And when I first started, I'll just use an example just so that you can relate. I did it for relaxation, yes, and I also did it for fitness. But when I started, I was ridiculed by fellow churchgoers and leadership because they said I was probably going to start practicing Hinduism now, or another religion, and I was going to bow to other gods and all those things. And the fact is, people, I think, sometimes fear what they don't understand, because I did my homework before I started the martial arts, and I realized that the Kiyoshi in town, he's a seventh dan in our style, Shorin Ru Shorin Kan. He's a Christian and he loves Jesus. And I asked him about it before signing my son up, because my son was there a few months before we started. My daughter and I started. And he said he only bows to Jesus. He doesn't follow the religion, he follows the art. So make sure when you choose a relaxation technique that there's not something in the back of your mind that's going to nag at you, maybe put you in a place where you're confronting yourself, or maybe where you feel divided. Am I doing the right thing? Let's use yoga or martial arts as an example. Make sure it's something that you are comfortable with, that aligns with your morals and your values, your religious beliefs, because I think sometimes the people fear what they don't understand. You can practice the art with, I'm talking about martial arts now, in my dojo. I don't know what it is like around the world, but you can practice the art without making it a religion. So I practice and I study the art. It's not my religion. And it's really elevated my mind, my body, my soul. God is speaking to me through a lot of the lessons that I learned. I've used some of the lessons that I've learned in sermons, because I see the teachings that we receive are biblical. And it's empowered me to deal with childhood stress, incidences that sometimes want to jump back and maybe drag me a little down. It's helped me to progress. So martial arts is one, that's our seventh example. And then, of course, deep breathing. Remember, we touched a little bit on deep breathing, but just deep breathing. If you just sit at your office desk and there's nowhere to go martial arts and there's nowhere to go do martial arts, or there's no aromatherapy nearby, or there's no hopping out of the office quickly to meditate or to do biofeedback, deep breathing is important. It's a great way to reduce the activation of your sympathetic nervous system, and that controls the body's response of fight or flight. Deep breathing really helped me because I had a situation where I felt triggered every single morning when I woke up. But my schedule was so hectic in the ministry that I didn't have time to do the things in the morning, like exercise or, any of the other meditating, any of the other examples that I've mentioned. So I only had deep breathing for in the morning just to get through my morning, right before I could go to my martial arts training in the afternoon. And that really helped me so much, because we don't want to be, and I see Lisa on here as well, and she's in the medical field. We don't want to, she'll relate to this. We don't want to be in a state where we are in a fight or flight state all the time, right? Your body's not made to do that. Your body has the adrenal glands that excrete these chemicals for your fight or flight when it's necessary, but it becomes a medical condition when you are in that stressful situation or in that mindset where you are anxious the whole time, or in another state of mind, maybe angry or worried, and you keep on producing, your adrenal glands keep on producing the fight or flight hormones, I'd say those chemicals, and that's not good for you. Those chemicals and those hormones have a specific function, but it's your responsibility to look after your body, to say, I'm not going to let myself be in this constant state of anxiety. So what do you have with you all the time? You have that breathing, right? You can use that breathing. And there's something called breathing from the heart as well. Believe it or not, you can breathe from your lungs, you can breathe from your diaphragm. We've all practiced those breathing techniques, right? And you can also breathe from your heart, because remember, I've alluded to the scriptures many times, and your heart is you're not always thinking with your mind. Sometimes you think with your heart, right? So if you think with your heart, maybe wonder and probe and investigate if you can't breathe with your heart. Remember that scripture that says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Your heart is where your emotions are seated. And when you feel emotional, or when you're having an off day, your anxiety, you can decrease it by breathing from your heart. Now, all of these things that I'm saying, they all overlap, right? They're all interconnected. So how do you breathe from your heart? We can do it together. You breathe in, but instead of focusing your thoughts on the lungs or the diaphragm that you're breathing with, or the nose, you're going to breathe into your heart space. You're going to feel it intentionally in your heart space. And that helps you when you breathe in. If you focus on your heart space, if you feel it there and you breathe out, you are releasing whatever is in that space that is too heavy to carry, maybe sometimes. So it does take practice. Some people start to do it very quickly. Others, it takes a little bit of time. Let's talk a little bit about example number 9, which is guided imagery. Guided imagery is like taking a short vacation in your mind. Simple as that. It can involve a lot of these. If you want a note, I'll put my personal notes, and I'll put the quotes on the other side for you. But it can involve imagining yourself being in a happy place. So have you ever seen in the movies when people are going through something, and then they just focus and say, I'm in my happy place, I'm in my happy place, and they try to just get away from the outside world? Well, that's what guided imagery is. Just for that moment, just to take the edge off that situation, to help you to go. Guided imagery helps you to imagine being in another place just for that second so that you can digest, or for those few minutes that you can digest what's happening, right? How are you going to deal with what you are facing? So I use this when I practice martial arts. Before a fight, I use guided imagery. So guided imagery makes me understand that now I'm in a battle, right? So I imagine I'm not the pastor now. I'm at a tournament. I'm here to fight and I'm here to win. Or I'm not the pastor now. I'm not a mom at home now. I am a soldier now. I have to fight this battle because we have full contact sport, right? Our style is full contact. It's hectic. It can be hectic if you're not present in the moment. So I'm a soldier now, and that person across from the ring in the cage from me, they want to harm me. And it's either them or it's me. So I'm going to fight now. He's my enemy. We're in battle and it's do or die, right? So that's how I bring out the best of my fighting. So I picture my opponent as someone wants to harm me. I fight, and after the fight, I guide my imagery back and say, well, I can breathe. The fight is over. Whoever won, we can shake hands. We're friends again. Now, for children in counseling, I take a lot of time to work with them at first to get to know them. I think it's very important that when we counsel people, especially in a spiritual manner, that we get to know them. So I'm then able to establish with them what their optimal happy place would look like. Because I've dealt with things, these things that I can never unlearn, very sad truths, things that I can't unhear and unsee, and there's a lot of things out there, especially with kids today. And I'd really take this time to just remind you to look after your children, please. The world is a horrible place, and send them for help. If you have someone, if something happened, something did something to them, send them for help, please. It's the greatest gift that you can give them. But what I do when I do spiritual counseling with kids is I get to know them. I take an interest in the person so that we can establish what is their happy place. And then we bring that happy place into existence in their mind. We help them to deal with what they go through. We help them to get to a place of equanimity where they can feel peace and serenity, and where they can let go of all the negative emotions that come along with the trauma, all the guilt, all the fear, all the worry, everything that grips them and takes them into a mental space where they're not supposed to be. Because they're kids, right? They're supposed to learn and have everything that they need. They need to be provided for, and they need to be shaped and loved and protected. Now we bring them that happy place. We bring it into existence for them. And when they're facing difficulties, we teach them to go to that happy place for a while to make sense of what's happening, and to always, always, always be in a place where they have a person that they can trust, that they can speak to, that can assist them. So this takes the edge off of what they are facing, so that they won't react but rather respond, because a lot of trauma that people go through, think of friends that you've had before, sometimes they want to self-harm, or sometimes they want to make rash decisions because they've been in a state of fear for so long, a state of anxiety. They don't know what else to do. So really working with people and helping them in a positive manner, teach them some of these techniques that they can use to help them through whatever they are facing, and even for ourselves. None of us have a perfect life always. Sometimes we go through things, and that's not a bad thing. It's part of I always say it's a character building time, right? So my favorite technique, and this is number 10, my favorite technique is the psychological sigh. And this involves taking a deep breath, and then holding it and taking another little breath and then exhaling it. And what I do different is I put a noise to it. So I'll demonstrate it for you. I actually don't do the breath in, a little breath in again and then exhale. I take a deep breath in through my nose, and then I exhale, but I put a sound to it, right? So I take a deep breath in, and then I go, but I take it a little bit further. I actually then voice what did I exhale. So I'll say, I'm so relieved that this and this happened today. I'll act it out, because a very big part, and this I found for me to be true. I mean, you can think for yourself what you relate to, but a very big part of our psychological makeup as human beings, that's which we consist of, is the fact that we're able to express ourselves in various ways. For instance, we can put words or facial expressions to our responses, and that's what I love about how God really put us together, because we're able to express ourselves. That we can give a look, or we can put something into words. We're expressing, we're living, we're moving and being, the way that God created us. So we have physical features that explain how we feel sometimes. Have you ever said something and then you just look up and you see someone's facial reaction? They are expressing how they feel. And that is why there are a number of studies that involve the study of body language, right? Body language is so important. Read someone's body language, because sometimes people aren't expressive with words, but their bodies can tell you what they are thinking or feeling. Or we can write our feelings down in a journal. I always say, if people are in a space where they overthink, they need to write it down. Because when they write it down, those intrusive thoughts, those thoughts that bring that fear and stress and anxiety, they lose their power. You have it on paper now, it's not swimming around in your mind. Now you can do something about what you can confront it now. What is it that I'm feeling? Now you can dissect it and say, why is it that I feel like this? What can I do to change the way that I feel? If you're an overthinker, you write it down in a journal. That helps you. If you're an underthinker, believe me, there's something like that. You can read more. Get more external in positive influences, by the way. So we can write our feelings down. We can express. We can express our viewpoints in speeches that we give or during meetings. The psychological side, why is it my favorite? Very special reason. I don't always have time to engage in the previous list of activities. I have time to do the breathing, but maybe I'm faced with something that's really hectic. Maybe it's something that's really bearing in on me. So I do from time to time, and in certain areas of my life, apply all of these techniques depending on what the occasion. But when I feel that I'm suddenly on overload, maybe with emotion or even relief, I don't just use it for stress. I also express that I'm relieved about something. I give my type of psychological side. I don't do the conventional one. I vocalize, because I express. Because when I feel I express, I'm putting it out there. That signals my brain that everything's going to be okay, or that it will be okay soon. So I sigh. Think about, drop in the comments, what do you use? Not in the same way that I'll sigh if I hear that something's gone wrong. There's different sighs. I'll sigh, if I feel like I need to express that something's not aligning with what it's supposed to be doing. Or I'll do this sigh of relief, but it will include vocalizing it, because it's a sign that ushers in the emotions that I need in that specific moment to either cope or, reflect on a situation. I'll give an example. In the ministry, in the years of ministry, I was not able to divulge any sensitive information that I'd encountered in my counseling sessions. I'd taken an oath before God that the information would always be kept confidential, except in two cases. Except if there was a crime that was committed and someone confessed to committing a crime, then I was able to get the authorities involved. Or secondly, the second instance was if a child was being harmed in some other way, then I could get the authorities involved. And those were the only two conditions. But having to carry that load for so long, I had to find a coping mechanism, because I couldn't let it overwhelm me, and I didn't want to take the chance to take the things that I had to deal with at work home. I didn't want to do that to my own kids. I wanted to give them the best upbringing that I could. So I started using the psychological side after each session. Now letting go of that shared pain, letting go of that shared trauma, letting go of that heaviness of what I had to deal with, what I had to navigate through with people. And I still do this today. If I'm relieved about events, like I said, that transpired, I also sigh, but it's a good sigh there. So the psychological sigh is an example of a bottom-up stress management technique. This is the academic description that can be used acutely to reduce stress or anxiety. And to practice that, you receive an inhale, but before you get to the top, you take another inhale, and then you expel all the air. There we go. If I'm on overload and I feel like my energy or my thoughts are unbalanced, I practice the psychological side, because we need to, and this is our topic for today, and I'm almost finished. We need to cope with stressors that we face in life, right? Like regular exercise, we said we need to engage in it because it's accumulating to give us long-term health benefits. It's going into those exercise building blocks. You might not, you see the results now. Who's ever started a new regimen? You see it for the first 12 or 14 weeks, and then you kind of plateau, right? You're still building those blocks, even though you don't see more changes. So when practicing the psychological side frequently, we keep our system healthy on a long-term basis, psychological health that we're building in. It's better to look at that list that I've provided here today. I'll just list them again and figure out what works for you. We've got exercise regularly, meditation. We talked more about the mindfulness, right? And then we took meditation to number 4. We talked about biofeedback, progressive muscle relaxation, aromatherapy, martial arts, or any other kind of form or shape of, another art that you would like to follow. Deep breathing, guided imagery, very effective. And then the psychological side. And the danger of stress is that often our conscious mind doesn't realize that we're feeling stressed subconsciously. Don't wait until your body starts to tell you that something's wrong, or that something's making you weary, or something is impacting you negatively. Start looking after yourself better in a psychological capacity today, because there's a reason why they always say prevention is better than cure. So I hope you've enjoyed the session today. I don't know if there's anyone that wants to give some comments about how they work on their psychological stress. Lisa, I know you're in the audience. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good.
Are you
I'm
there?
good. So, what I like to do when, yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I like to
Yes,
do is I like to take a walk when I
good.
have cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take a walk, and then if I'm really very stressed, then I go for a run because the running releases the energy, the pent up energy, because you have to use more energy to run than you do to walk.
I like that. I like that. That's expressing the level of psychological stress that you're having for the day. You're
Hmm.
expressing, okay, I'm feeling the stress. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to change that energy. I like that. And the running is like, okay, it's a little bit more today. Let's take it head on. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. Do you have any comments that you want
Thank
to
you.
give us or anything you want to add?
Well, I'm just really grateful for your share because, I love the biofeedback part. I didn't realize it was that effective, and I'm going to give that one a try. And you had so many great tips and comments. It was like, I'm going to make a list, and then when I'm feeling a little stressed, I can just pick. It's like pick off the shelf like the buffet. Which one do I want to try?
That's it. We've got this great resource available to us. So I'm glad to hear that you found it interesting. I'll send you the list and then you can pick and choose from there. Thank you so much, Lisa. Kate, do you
Perfect.
have something to share?
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juanita. Those are great. Um, I think more than anything, I love it doesn't have to be 40 minutes workout a day. Just be consistent with something small. I think that
Yeah.
sometimes we forget that even just a 10-minute walk every day is just as good as an intense workout at the gym. So, I think just having that reminder was awesome.
Wonderful, wonderful. There's lovely videos out there. I know Billy Blanks, I think it's Billy Blanks or Billy Banks. He's got the Taibo videos that's like 8 minutes long. And man, do they give me that energy if I only have those 8 minutes. So I'm so happy to hear that you found it interesting. Thank you so much. I know Jonathan is in the house, but I'm not sure if he's able to come on and talk with us.
Driving. He is
Okay,
driving.
no doing that.
So,
Focus on the
yes. Yes. He is on his way to take care of some properties that need to be cleaned in Florida. So he is on the road. So
wonderful. So thank you for joining us, everyone. I'll send out that list on social media for you guys of the techniques, and then we'll see you again on Wisdom Wednesday, which is Wednesday 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stay healthy, everyone. God bless you. Bye, Kate.
Thank you,
Drive safe, Jonathan.
Juanita.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.